There's the corkscrew, and thereby you are empowered. It's really that simple.
No, but I think it's more like, yes, you should be empowered to drink cocktails, but you should be empowered to make cocktails too. I think there's like a prohibitive sort of, you have to be in a certain environment to get a good cocktail. You have to be in a, in a bar with a bartender with a mustache to be serving you like,
Even in yours?
in like, not in ours,
Okay.
but in, serving you some sort of like stirred, perfect spherical ice. The whole 9 yards have to be in place, and that's
where they're
simply not true.
slapping the herbs.
Yes, exactly. That's
They
you can
slap the basil before they put it in your
that's
coffee.
a good
My
trick.
God.
Listen, that's a good take home. Clapping the.
Okay.
Know the rules to break the rules, Joe.
That's right. Okay.
But yeah, I think it's more about sort of understanding how something is made and being able to make it yourself and not being afraid to ask for how you want it. And I think that's sort of where the power comes in that regard. But wait a second, Letty, because I have a lot of wine questions for you.
Let's see what I can do.
Yes, being in the bar business, people are always asking about wine, and I'm always very guilty because I'm always trying to learn more. And I bought that giant wine Bible, and I read a couple.
I didn't
read
write a
about
wine
the
Bible.
champagne. I feel like I read like one section.
Is that why your wine list is very short
Yes,
on your bar?
yes. But the one wine, there are two wines actually that I want to ask you about that people are asking me about when they come
That are on
in
your
all
list?
the time.
I hope not. Okay.
Not on our list because I don't know anything about them, so you're going to have to enlighten me. But natural wines and orange wine.
Orange wine.
Oh,
yeah.
I was afraid you'd get to that. You live in Brooklyn, so of course, yeah. So people are drinking them. You know what? Those are two things. Well, orange wine, I think it had a moment, and I'm happy to say I think it's fading. I don't know if people here. Sorry, that's my opinion. I don't. I don't know how many. Can everyone raise their hands? How many people have actually had orange wine? And okay, and how many people have had orange wine and enjoyed it? No. Smaller number. The texture. I feel like I get that they want to be texture, but it's just a fundamental disconnect. So if this is a trend question, I would say, and not just my own personal belief, although I do believe it and it has come true. Not that it's I think less interest in orange wine, natural wine. I mean, we could be here all night, and I don't think any of us wants to talk about natural wine all night. But the definition of what that is. It's like the definition of the word terroir. There is no translatable. It contains a multitude, and I think that the bottom line of what is the best development of that so-called natural wine is that there is a lot more attention paid to behaving in a responsible manner. Of not relying upon insecticide and not and fungicides and things that are unnatural and obviously detrimental, but also being practical and I think so much is made of that is not actually truly natural. There's actually my favorite moment of this is there's something called sustainable, which if you want to and this word was absolutely completely devoid of meaning when I got a press release from a champagne company that said, we're no longer sending press releases on paper because we are sustainable winery. And they had owls in the vineyard. That was another one that was sustainable. So I think yes, natural in the sense of intelligent and thoughtful and with a goal towards producing wine that is responsibly made. But what is natural is a very fungible word.
That's so funny. So the person who claimed to be a natural wine expert, who told me what natural wine was, said, and I quote, "You just put everything in a bucket. You just put just everything in a bucket and you leave it alone." And I was like,
did you ever drink that person's wine that became of that?
I could make wine.
I don't know.
No, there's a reason why people are the ones that make the wines, not the wines that. And I want them to be the ones to do that.
Wait, so where are the most exciting wines for you coming from right now?
Coming from, it's really the beautiful thing about the world of wine now is that there is so much interesting wine made in so many different places. Like, for example, I was in, and I think in America in particular, and one thing that I'm very impressed with is the quality of wines in unusual states in America. Well, unusual, which is to say unanticipated states, like Michigan, to have some really nice Rieslings in Michigan, to have a really great Blaufränkisch in New Jersey. Let's hear it for New Jersey. Likewise, to have and also noble varieties, which is to say, Vidal Blanc and Chambourcin, which, I mean, Chambourcin is like the Pinot Noir. It's like America's Pinot Noir. It's a hybrid, and it has a lot of the same characteristics. Makes a lovely rosé. So I think that there is more. There's more knowledge about winemaking and more willingness to experiment, because, you know, and especially in the city that we're living in. I mean, there's just so much openness. As winemakers from Europe always tell me, you know, New York is the greatest market, not only because we have so many outlets, but because of the openness of New Yorkers, and the desire.
And the variety of cuisine. I mean, just the talk that came before us. I think that there's so many pairings to be made. Talk about pairings.
But you know, I was hoping you'd get away from that. I hate that word. No, you know, because I feel like it puts you in this position of responsibility. Now I have this responsibility to figure out how these two things go together. And I will tell you, I just had dinner with a very famous chef last week, and he's famous for his seafood. And I brought along this really nice white Burgundy, and we ended
Eric
up.
Repair, by chance?
You're close. But I brought along.
David Pasternak?
You're not as close.
Okay.
But I thought, and I brought it along because I thought we were going to this restaurant that was BYO, and it wasn't. So he ordered steak, and I said, "How about white Burgundy?" And he said, "That's okay." And I, okay. And it turned out to be a little too over oaked. So the oak, which is a great thing, is actually oak, and, you know, white wine that's oaked can act like a red wine. So we just sort of closed ours. And my point being that I think people spend way too much time talking about that. And here's a guy who also knows wine and is a fantastic chef. And you know, I think that the preciousness of it will dissipate, because it's just too great a burden, I think, to think to. Maybe that's just, again, my hopeful belief.
That's heartening. I like hearing that.
You feel burdened by that too?
I mean, I feel like being in the industry, or like working in bars all the time.
Right.
People are always asking me to go out to dinner. They give me the wine list. I'm like, I don't want to see that. Like, you do that. I don't. It's a lot of responsibility.
Well, in terms of complication, I have to say, I was looking at and this is a question for you, prognosticating as well. You know, looking at names of cocktails, I mean, that's why wine is really simple. Pinot Noir, Chardonnay, and then there's this name I have to write. I wrote it down because I could never remember it. It was so long in your bar. Now it'd be really cute. Okay, all right. This is embarrassing. It is a short name. Sorry, but one was Spider in a Cup. That isn't one of the examples of the long names. She does have longer names, but of what goes night, silo, and no, it's the ingredient list that's very long. The names are you have no idea what that is. Like, who would know what, would anyone like to guess what the liquor in Spider in a Cup is?
Venom.
The Spider in the Cup.
Will fanciful names,
Yes.
will they go away, or will they only get more complicated?
I think they'll get more complicated. Well, if not more complicated, more. I mean, the reason that we go a little crazy with the names is because our mission is really to evoke a vibe. Like, we want to evoke an experience. When a guest sits down in front of a cocktail, the Spider in the Cup is named the Spider in the Cup because it's garnished with a torched cardamom pod. So it's like this. It looks like an insect floating in your drink. But it smells really good. It's obviously not an insect, but it sort of the smokiness, the drama. There's like a feeling, right. And the name, I think, sort of lends itself to giving each guest that feeling, and the ingredients too. But then also, it's a conversation starter. Mm-hmm. So if you're on a date, and it's a really good sort of like entry point into a conversation. Or
so you would never order the harpooned heart if you're on a date. Would anyone?
Or you would. If you were a Simpsons fan,
this
totally
ingredient list, which I don't know, the cocktails, which again is why I know nothing about cocktails, because I feel like it's so vodka, coconut, almond, vanilla, mint, lime, pineapple, and peppercorn
syrup.
Oh, that sounds so good.
It's really good. It's really, really good. And we garnish it. It's like anathema, but we garnish it with like an actual chocolate, like a truffle.
Well, I'm wondering about, you mentioned garnish a minute ago, and I'm wondering how much you think drink trends are driven by the visual. And I want you both to answer that, because I think the orange wine, like the rosé, is part of that trend. You know, that looks, you can't tell a wine is natural in an Instagram picture, but you can tell that it's orange. And the same thing with the garnishes. How much do you think that affects where things are going?
I don't know if it affects where things are going, but I hope that people, again, at home, will be more empowered to garnish their drinks that they serve to their guests, because it's like such a lovely, thoughtful gesture that costs you very little time. And I really do think, like, if you get like a beautiful garnish on a drink that's even mediocre, it's like getting a little tiny flower arrangement delivered to you. Like, it's like a lovely feeling. And it's like, why not?
Right.
I hope people keep doing it.
I don't garnish my wine, so I don't have an answer for
Little
that.
paper umbrellas, you have like a whole jar.
But I feel like I want a parasol next time I have a
But
glass
Letty,
of Chardonnay.
there's you mentioned the drink names being complicated, but remembering the names of wines and the wineries and the
Cabernet,
years and the
Merlot,
grapes, I mean,
Zinfandel.
super complicated. Do you see people trying to do
that's
anything
geography
to make
then.
it easier?
You know what? But that is the entire business of wine books, are making things simpler in wine, and I'm actually opposed to that. I think things should be more complex. Now, but I think that, to the point of what Carla and you were saying earlier, understanding the history of food and understanding of where things came from, and so I feel like there is you have a certain obligation if you do truly care about wine, to understand why this wine is called Sancerre and not called Sauvignon Blanc, and what Sancerre is compared to Pouilly-Fumé, and Pouilly-Fumé, and what Vouvray is compared to Savagnières, as you understand, the region and the soil, and not to get all of that, but at least have a rudimentary understanding of, okay, Loire Valley, Sauvignon Blanc, and that's sort of what it tastes like, and then there's New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc. So I think I think that because so many people are becoming so much more interested in wine, with that, amplification of just accessibility of wine, there will, and maybe this is again hopeful. I'm thinking because I'm a journalist rather than a prognosticator, so I report on what is actually happening as opposed to what I imagine or wish to happen. But I like to believe there is a growing and deeper level of understanding than just I'd like my wine to be white.
Do you think travel affects the way people think about wine and what they know about wine and cocktails too?
I think that it can't help but when you go to a place and you see it, and it's funny. I don't know if you all read that. If it's like too many people are traveling now, like there are cities that want to throw people out of them. There are too many people showing up. There are too many people. There are too many people showing up in it's like Napa, they're overrun, and now, in fact, I have the experience of trying to go to Piemonte, and they're saying, truffle season, they're saying it's been discovered, too many people are coming to Piemonte, too many people are going to Burgundy, which I guess is a good thing that now people are so compelled to actually visit wine regions that at one time were inaccessible.
They should just start serving beer, and then fewer people would come.
And then everyone will leave, yeah.
I think that's about all the time we have for our drink duet. Thank you very much. And now we have a couple more powerhouses for you to finish off our sequence. People say eat dessert first, and we ate a little dessert earlier, but we're really going to eat dessert now.
Woo.
Yep.
I need a scarf adjustment.
So we have incredible people. I won't go over their whole bios or even much of them because I can't even begin to start. But Dory Greenspan is legendary cookbook author and baking maven.
Is legendary short for old?
No.
No.
Dory, you were born a legend.
Yes.
You were born